Hey there, Kai here. Now here's my latest property that I recently acquired in February and March of 2020, and I was gearing up to make it a plus listing on Airbnb. I expected to average around $220 to $250 a night, but this pandemic hit and it changed everything. Let's talk about the silver bullet nobody saw coming and how the pandemic impacted my Airbnb business. Is this the best time to start? I'm saying yes. Slap hands, bump fists, let's roll. So with all of that, how's my Airbnb business doing? And the answer to that is actually great. I did get rid of one of the properties just before the pandemic hit, but that was more because the client who we were managing was just a nightmare to work with and made running a smooth business very challenging. But other than that, the Airbnb business has been chugging along just fine. My main cash cow, the shipping container cottage out in the country, actually saw an uptick as more people wanted to escape the city, and since it's a plus listing, we had fewer competitors. The other properties are either switching to month-long stays that'll be able to cover expenses for the next few months, or they're able to produce enough income from local stays to basically break even. Worst case scenario, we're down maybe a couple $100 each month. Now I share all this at a time when most other Airbnb businesses are struggling and even facing having to break leases and giving up homes that were over leveraged. I'm talking to all the Airbnb arbitrageurs out there who overextended themselves in the good market. I expect my overall business will take about a 15 to 20% decline in gross revenues this year, especially since we're just about to enter peak season and travel is still basically shut down. But there are 5 main reasons why I don't think I'm facing or we're facing the same issues that I've seen from a lot of other rentals and Airbnb businesses. 1, I run very fiscally conservative, meaning I don't over leverage myself in the good times. And when times are great, I'm making a lot of cash. I don't max everything out to get more properties or expand the business too quickly. I actually save and reinvest in other things like the stock market or other projects to help diversify for bad seasons, just like right now. 2, I built up a large cash reserve. The reason why businesses go under is that they run out of cash. Number 1 rule of life and business, never run out of cash. Seems so simple, but took me 27 years to figure that one out. And then 3 was getting quality properties with multiple purposes. I've talked about this a lot in my other videos. I've even searched out for wedding venues or corporate event centers, but I am extremely particular in the properties that I acquire. I like unique, high build quality with character. The reason is I know they'll go for more and have a bigger safety net in the bad times. And then 4 is I negotiate or create great terms. Some of the properties are not all owned by me. Some of them are managed properties. It's very important to have strong contracts and understand how to get out of one if you need to. It's called an exit strategy. And I have one or a clause in all my contracts. Essentially, I can get out from under a leased or managed property in about 30 to 60 days. More than enough time for my cash reserves to float me. For my own properties, I make sure I have very favorable mortgages. Talked about this a lot in my mortgage videos, or no mortgage at all. So they'll pretty much always cash flow whether as a short-term or long-term property. And then number 5 is I always screen my tenants, both short-term and long-term. Obviously, each one looks a little bit different. I do have properties that have long-term tenants. When we do this, I properly screen the tenants with a full background check, credit check, along with proof of income and last month's rent and a security deposit. Not only that, but I also meet them in person, interview them, and decide if I trust them. Now I lean towards tenants who make 3 to 4 times more than rent. These types of folks usually have a larger buffer and don't really have problems paying. This has given me extremely favorable tenants and they do not destroy my homes nor miss payments, even in times like this. But overall, I'm seeing a slowdown in guests, obviously, but a slight uptick from local folks who are looking at getting away from their home or normal workspace for a while. The other important thing, especially during this time, is I make it very transparent how we clean and disinfect the properties. Not only do we wipe everything down, especially high traffic areas with disinfectant and then bleach inside the kitchens and bathrooms, but we also use ozone to completely sanitize the home. I block off a day extra between stays and let the ozone machine run for 2 to 3 hours and then just let it sit there for a day before opening up all the windows and doors to let everything air out for a few hours. This has made guests feel a lot more safe and ensures that we're doing everything that we can to provide a clean and safe space for their stay. Now, if you're interested in getting an ozone machine for your home or your rental, I'll put a link down in the description below. Just make sure that no one is able to use the home for at least 4 to 5 hours while the machine runs, again, 2 hours, and then give it maybe 2 or 3 hours to let the whole home air out. But other than some extra time to really make sure that the space is fully sanitized and dealing with a few more local guests, the rental business is getting by just fine. Not flourishing by any means, but better than just surviving. We'll be fine, or should be fine, riding out this pandemic for a few years if we have to, just because we have the cash reserves and the revenue that we're generating allows us to stay in business. But can you, maybe more importantly, should you start an Airbnb business in today's climate in the middle of very uncertain times? I would say yes, if you already have the space, the ability to make it safe, and the cash reserves. But realistically, I'd tell you to rent it out monthly if you need to maximize cash flow. Otherwise, just rent it out a few nights a week if you're looking at creating some extra cash. Now, here's the interesting part. We've already seen a lot of Airbnbs taken off the platform or even out of the market. I'm assuming a large number of these were people and businesses who overreached and had crazy high monthly expenses from mortgages and leases from multiple properties. These were either converted into long-term rentals or somehow the hosts got out of the home by canceling the lease or prepping the home for sale. Now, back in 2016, 2017, I saw so many young and inexperienced house hackers try and expand to multiple properties, leveraging at peak level rates. Now, they're stuck with monster mortgages and leases and little income and very little cash reserves. That's a bad combo. I estimate within 12 to 18 months, these properties will start entering the marketplace, and that's the time, if you prepped yourself right, for you to come in and start snatching them up for a good deal, of course. It's buying or getting into a good deal that's important. Get that unique property or perfect location for cheap or relatively cheap. You may not even break even on the property for a while, but it's okay because you'll have the market when it comes back in full force. The best businesses expand and buy killer deals when the market is contracting or down. Sit on the new assets and wait for the market to rebound. So is this still a good time to start an Airbnb business? Let me ask you something. Do you think people are done traveling and vacationing forever? Get your finances in order, build up cash reserves, and start hunting out the next deal. The Airbnb business is going to take a hit for the next year or so, but just like in any economic contraction period, there are always going to be opportunities abound if you're ready and you keep looking. I'm definitely not getting out of the game yet, and I'm actually using the next 2 years to double down and buy more stocks and properties for my portfolio. Stick with me and I'll help share with you what I've learned in the last 14 years and the last recession of doing this, and hopefully we can get you started on building out a solid portfolio with stocks and properties. It's a great place to start in this next recession. Like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos on how to invest in a down market and get updates on what's going on in our government and the economy. I love you all. Start a small stock portfolio with Robinhood. It's what I'm using, and you can join me in the next live stream and follow along as I share how to invest. Kai out.